Hey guys, welcome back to our Japan Talk series. In this series, we're going to take you on a beautiful walk throughout Japan, and while you guys are enjoying the walk, we are going to talk to you about some aspect of living in Japan or Japanese culture. Today, guys, we have an absolutely beautiful walk in store for you. I think you guys are really going to love this one. This walk is in the south of Japan. It's in Kagoshima Prefecture, and it is a walk through a really unique, a really beautiful Summer Matsuri or summer festival. So please enjoy. And today's topic is just asking a simple question. Is Japan too expensive? We're going to be looking at 5 main categories today. We're going to be talking about expenses of housing, food, travel, healthcare, and some miscellaneous expenses. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the topic. So for me, the overall question, is Japan too expensive? I would say no, Japan is not too expensive. There's a ton of value to be had here in Japan. Some things are expensive, some things are very affordable. It just depends on what you know, where you live, and well, let's get into it. First of all, let's talk about the housing. Is housing in Japan really expensive? Well, it is all depending on where you live. If you're living in Tokyo, the capital of Japan, housing can be incredibly expensive. In fact, if you want even fairly meager one-person apartment, you're going to be looking at spending $800, $900 minimal for what's probably going to be a pretty crappy apartment that's not going to be in the best area, okay? Apartments in Tokyo are very expensive. If you want to live in an affluent area of Tokyo with something that is a decent size, decent accommodations, you can spend $1,500, you can spend $2,000, $3,000. It can be really, really expensive. But for housing, if you are outside of, let's say, the top 5 biggest cities in Japan, if you're outside of places like Tokyo, Osaka, Fukuoka, Hiroshima, and you're in smaller size cities, I'm talking even places that have 500,000 people, 500,000, 400,000, housing prices can be great. You can get a great place to live for $500 a month. If you want to go even a little bit outside of the city center, there's single accommodation in Japan you can find for $300, $400, $500. I mean, there is really tremendous value here outside of the bigger cities. So if you want to find a place to live, and you don't need to be in Tokyo, you don't need to be in Fukuoka or Osaka, you can really find a lot of great value in smaller size cities and smaller size towns out in the countryside. You can find beautiful places in nature with very, very comfortable living at a fantastic price. So I do think that overall, looking at the big picture nationwide, I do think that housing is a great value here in Japan as a country. I just don't think that it's a good value in the bigger cities. Okay, but I think that's pretty normal. Next up, we are going to look at food. Is food a good value in Japan? Well, this is something, first of all, we can say that food in Japan is phenomenal. Whether you're talking Japanese food, obviously it's amazing, it's healthy, it's just fantastic. But Japan also does a fantastic job at international cuisine. Japanese chefs take their training seriously. A lot of Japanese chefs, they want to open an Italian restaurant, they want to open up a French restaurant, a Thai restaurant. They go to those countries, they train, they certify, they study, and they come back to Japan and they make delicious, authentic food. So the availability of food is tremendous in Japan, okay? Now, it can be extremely expensive if you want to go out to nicer places, if you want to go out to fine dining places. Yeah, it can be really, really expensive. But there's also a lot of great value in Japan. You can go out, there's places, even in Tokyo, there's some places here, you can find bentos for, $3, $4, $5 for, a really nice, delicious, healthy bento. There's Japanese, kind of like Japanese fast food places where you can go out to eat, where you can get a bowl of like gyudon, like a beef bowl, for 500 yen. So there's a ton of places where you can go out and you can get cheap food, you can get cheap drinks. Again, it depends on where you look. Cheap food options are available everywhere. Even if you're living in Tokyo, it is available. You just have to know where to look. You have to be able to seek a value. And, if you have more money and you want to spend it and you have budget, there's incredibly expensive places that are amazing that you can go to as well. So for me, I think food is a pretty good value. Grocery stores too, it can vary greatly, particularly in Tokyo. There are a lot of higher class or what would be considered like affluent supermarkets, but there's also cheap ones, so it just really depends on the level of knowledge, what do you know, and that will kind of dictate what you have to spend. But I do think both housing and food are a good value. So far we're doing well, 2 for 2. Next thing I want to talk about is travel. Okay, so this one is a little bit tough. I would say for overall, I would say local travel, I'm going to say it's not overly expensive, and I'm going to tell you why. So I would say your local everyday travel back and forth to work and the places that you need to go, I would say that it is a good value in Japan. And that is because in Japan, there is a culture where basically your employer will always pay for your transportation expenses from home to work. So whatever your commute is by train, by bus, whatever your commute is every day to work, it is going to be covered on a monthly basis by your employer. So that's going to be most of your commutation expenses. Most of the other travel you'll do, you'll do little local things around your apartment, around where you live, but most of your expenses will be covered by your employer. Now, if we are looking at branching out and we're looking to travel further to another prefecture, you want to take a Shinkansen, you want to take a long distance train, okay, then it starts to get expensive. The Shinkansen in Japan is actually really quite expensive. I would say it's at least as much as air travel. If not, sometimes it can be more depending on where you want to go. So yeah, longer distance traveling, if you want to travel to a different city, it can get really quite expensive. Hotels can be expensive. Of course, there are cheaper options. There are ways to make it cheaper. If you want to go to Osaka from Tokyo, instead of spending, 15,000 yen on a Shinkansen, maybe you can spend half that much and, you can ride an overnight bus. So there are cheaper options. It's just depending on how much time you have on your hands, what you wanted to spend, what you want your level of comfort to be, how much time you're willing to spend. If you're traveling to a new city, I want to go to Fukuoka and, I don't want to pay out for an expensive hotel. Well, there's other options. You could stay at a capsule hotel, maybe 3,000 yen, $30 a night. Or if you wanted even cheaper than that, you can stay at a manga cafe. Okay, sometimes these places you can stay for the night, depending on how many hours you want to sleep, and it could be less than 2,000 yen a night. It's just depending. So there are a lot of really cheap budget options. If you're just going for the day, you want to find a place to lay your head, there's a lot of options. So I would say for me, travel, I'm going to say it's right down the middle. Local travel, not expensive. Long distance travel, expensive. Now let's talk about healthcare. Overall, I think the healthcare system in Japan is very good, consistently rated as one of the top 10 in the world. And the costs, I think, are actually very good as well because the Japanese government regulates all the costs of medical care. If in the United States you want to go and get an MRI, if you were to pay for that out of pocket, you're looking at something like $5,000. If you want to get that same exact test done in Japan without insurance, it's only going to cost you around $100 because the price is regulated by the government. So when you do go to get medical services and you use your Japanese insurance, what you're going to be paying out of pocket is very, very little. Let's say, for example, you go to a specialist visit, maybe you go to the dermatologist. What you're going to end up paying out of pocket for that visit will amount to a few dollars only. Maybe it will be $3, $4, $5, $6, I would say at the most, that you're going to pay out of your pocket with the Japanese insurance. You want to get some medicine, depending on what type of medication it is. You're not looking at, the most you're ever going to pay is, $10, $20, $30, something like that. You're not going to spend a lot of money. So I actually do think healthcare here is a great value. even if you are in Japan and you are earning a large amount of money, there is a cap on how much you can pay into the healthcare system here. So I think it does work out quite well for everybody. So healthcare, I think, is a great value. Now, I want to look at kind of miscellaneous expenses. What are some of the other things? Utilities, for example, going out and getting your hair cut, whatever it might be. Overall, I think these things are a great value. Utilities are not very expensive for your apartment. Very often, in many apartments, things like internet will already be provided. If you do not have internet service provided in your apartment, generally having your own direct high-speed internet line for your apartment is going to cost you around 4,000 yen, about $40 a month, which is not very expensive. Electricity, I would say maybe for a single apartment, maybe on average throughout the year, maybe $100 a month. Of course, in months where you're not using heat or aircon, it's going to be cheaper. In months where you do use heat or aircon, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but not expensive. Maybe your gas bill, $30 a month. Maybe water bill, half that, maybe $15 a month. Not very expensive. And I would say, yeah, generally all those things are good deal, good quality. So for me, overall, I do not think that Japan is too expensive. It can be if you're not careful with your lifestyle, if you're just going out and not paying attention to where you're going, how you're going there. If you want to be just doing things in a careless way and you're not minding your budget, you can blow money away here really quickly because there's a ton of things to blow your money on. There's a ton of super expensive things. But if you understand Japan, if you understand where the values are, if you have some, diligence with making your budgets, deciding, how you want to travel, where you want to live, where you want to go out to eat, and, you're spending some time understanding the economy and understanding what the value is, there's tremendous values to be had here. And I think Japan is extremely much cheaper than the United States, for example. There's a ton more value to be had here than you would find in a place like the United States. That's my view after living here for 10 years. I'm curious to see, what is your view? If you have been to Japan, do you think it's expensive? Did you find it to be cheap? Let me know why in the comment section below. And as well, guys, I want to take your temperature for future videos. Is there a topic that you would like me to cover in the future? Is there a question that you have about Japan? Please leave me a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what your question is. Let me know what topic you would like me to cover, and I will cover it in a future video. Anyway, guys, as always, if you found this video helpful, do me a favor, hit that like button, and please consider subscribing to the channel for future content. That's all I have for this one, guys. I will catch you in a next video. Take it easy. See ya.